Right, here we are again, folks, back together. Having to go down the old road to Zoom at the minute. Obviously, everybody very busy. Obviously, we've had a week of discussions about conditions underfoot. It's certainly heavy round in Kent today, or North Kent anyway, without a shadow of a doubt. Chucked it down, didn't it? So, obviously, moving on from that then, importantly, Tingle Creeks coming up.
Yes.
Next big one on the card. Well, not next big. I'm fighting fifths obviously first, but by the time this goes out, we'll be looking at the Tingle Creek. Got a bit of news in the pipeline. Not going to say anything about it just yet, but something exciting that we can do. So keep watching. Got an interesting giveaway coming up. So keep an eye out for that. As always, as Jamie always asks to remind us, like and subscribe and follow and all that. We do really appreciate it. So that's that. So then, lads, yes, Tingle Creek. Quite a few runners in a minute, bound to change. You've got defending champ, one for a better word, Greaneteen in now. Shishkin's got an entry. Obviously, we'd all like to see Shishkin. Mark, you might want to elaborate on what Nicky said at the weekend about him, as you've got to ask him quickly.
Well, yeah, actually had the privilege for that, actually.
Yeah, Edward Stone is in there, lads. Fernie Hollow, Captain Guinness, and then Gently to Me, and then we go down to some of the bigger odds, which I won't run for them all because we're not likely to sort of be in serious contention, but you might tell me otherwise. Yeah, obviously, as it stands, lads, it looks, fairly competitive. Obviously, I'd say that probably will change. What do we think then, lads? Who wants to kick us off?
Go on, Mark.
Oh, well, yeah, small field, as you say. You got Greaneteen at the moment.
Who's 5 to 4 on Unibet in a minute with that.
Yes, leading the way. Won it last year, quite surprisingly. I don't think it was expected for that horse to win, but it was a great run. Great ride from Bryony Frost as well. So there's no doubt why it heads the fields. Shishkin, all the talk's going to be on Shishkin. Will he? Won't he? We've heard it all before with Constitution Hill. As Sean said before we called in, 2 to 1. Wow, huge. I don't know who would have their house on that. I might have to ask the wife about that, but I don't think she'd agree with it. But you look at Shishkin. Everyone knows what Shishkin's capable of. It was not what we wanted to see when we was there at Cheltenham when he pulled up in the champion chase. But there was reasons for that, and I actually got the chance to ask Nicky at Seven Barrows. I said, how's Shishkin doing? Is he keeping well? And Nicky Anderson's response of, he's doing great. And that's all I need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
That brilliant. Edward Stone, we see him at Sandown when he beat Third Time Lucky, I believe. His route to Cheltenham, he went on and done wonders. Won the Arkle, and then finished second at Aintree. So just them top 3 in the betting is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, well, obviously he was withdrawn as well the other day, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. I obviously hope all of them run.
As we always do, mate.
Of course, Fernie Hollow's another one. You've got Captain Guinness, Gentleman to Me, Dunvegan. Is that pronounced right, Sean?
Yeah.
First Flow, Funambuli Civilola. Excuse my pronunciation.
Yeah.
Size in Potsy and Third Time Lucky, 100 to 1. Wow, absolutely just amazing. But my lookings at that would be to, I hope Shishkin runs. It'd be great to see how he would perform on his route back to taking on Energumene again at the festival next year.
Yeah. Obviously, it's like you say, it's intriguing. Who ends up going? Well, obviously, time will tell. But as you say, it does look very tasty with the top 3 there. Likewise, I've always been enamoured with Shishkin, and as you say, I hope that we get to see the Shishkin of pre-festival. Disappointment. I think he's a stunning horse. Normally jumps so well. and you know, as another poetry in motion type, you know, horse. So, yeah, obviously we're not. I suppose we're not really here to pick one out as per se. It's more of a, you know, a chat about the actual race coming up. So yeah, I mean, obviously Edward Stone, as you say, was withdrawn, but really kicked on in a big way since that, you know, his win at Sandown over Third Time Lucky. If I remember rightly, I think there was what 6 or 7 us there that day. I think pretty much everybody was with Third Time Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were all at Humble Pie, and that's racing for you. So you know, if Edward Stone goes, we've got to give him a shout. You know,
Definitely.
Fernie Hollow, you know, again, not too far on the outside of betting, 5-1 with Unibet. You know, still a horse that's liked and liked around the country, and you know, Fernie Hollow was withdrawn at the festival. Is that right? Yeah. So again, you know what I mean? Still something to prove, and something people will be looking forward to. So yeah, I say not really here, like say, to pick one out, but I would sort of lean with Shishkin just because just think he's an amazing horse. So Jamie, what are your thoughts then on the card itself?
It's a very good race. I must admit, it's a very competitive race. If it's going to be 6 or 7 runners, looking at it, I had a little quick look in the field, and for me, instead of going for the actual, the original, look on Shishkin, I've had a look. I want to have a look at Edward Stone, trained by Alan King. To me, I've heard reports that Alan King took Edward Stone to 7 barrows and used Nicky Henderson's gallops, and scored him over the fences and that because of the bit of rain, quite a lot of rain over Lambourne and everything. So they use Nicky Henderson's gallops. And then for me, like looking at the like, you know, I'm hoping that he'll run because in the Tingle Creek, because I like to see how he's progressed, because even though from last season he won he won the Arkle at Cheltenham, and I like to see how he's going to progress or improve for this year instead of from
another good
year.
test, like, you know,
another
test,
another one. If obviously, you know, if after that he won the Arkle, he went to Aintree. I think the Arkle race sort of I think it took him out of him. Needed a bit more.
Just having a quick look there, you know, four and a half lengths behind. Do you know what I mean? Gently to lead. So you would think that, like I say, maybe it was just a bit too much too soon, sort of thing.
Just too much, and I think he's got a good, I would say, a good chance of if Shishkin doesn't run, I think he's got a great chance of winning the Tingle Creek. For me, because he's an 8-year-old. He's got an official rating of what I've seen is 162. I just look at the actual form of the horse, not really go for ratings, but you know, he's a little bit low on the ratings, but I think he's a, you know, great, a really good horse to see him win the Arkle. But then I'm looking at if there's anything else, and to me, looking at it, for me, it's Greaneteen with Paul Nicholls. I mean, he has got the course form at Sandown. He's won 3 times. His latest win was in a celebration chase in a Grade 1 in April, and that was at the beginning of this year. Last time out, he won the Holden Gold Cup, beating his stable companion Daulos by 7 lengths. So I reckon the course form would you have to look at course form as well for Greaneteen. But for me, for a racing watch, racing is Edward Stone. But if there's going to be a few Irish runners, I would say don't count out Captain Guinness for an each way bet. Because
I'll pose the question, lads. Do you think Greaneteen was a tad fortunate when he won at Tingle Creek?
With regards to,
I don't think
just generally with regards to, you know, was he fortunate that, you know, there was only the 5 runners? Shakan didn't fire that day.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It fell apart,
Yeah.
didn't it?
I'm not taking anything away from me. He won it.
No,
He
no.
deserved to get it.
I think
but
it was to me, I think it was an inch perfect run. As Sean was just about to say, I was expecting to see Chacun Pour Soi like shine on that day. I really did. You know, and it just didn't quite work out. And you know, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways that people can look at that race. Is, you know, like Greaneteen picked up the pieces as such, but I thought it was a great ride by Friday. You know, 16-1, massive odds. You know, I didn't really hear many people had a bet on Greaneteen, to be fair.
No.
You know, the sound of silence, it was a little bit of a bit shock in a way. I really expected Chacun to really turn on the heat there in that race. You know, he's always been a found horse for, you know, the Mullins camp. But, you know, I think the small fields is what Greaneteen likes. And I think if it does go to around 5 or 6 runners, then there's no reason why he can't be.
I say it because of, obviously, if we look back to Liz Oscar, you know, winning the Stayers, obviously retired recently, you know, I mean, only a couple of days ago. I just wonder, was it a similar scenario? Did things just fall into place on the day?
With Leicester Guard Oscar, I don't think at that time when he won that Stayers hurdle, I don't think the Stayers division was a very good competitive division. I think you always on that after Big Bucks, winning it what 4 or 5 times. You were seeing a different result every year.
Yeah, and I don't want to dilute off to that. That's for another day. But I'm just sort of posing the question to you: do you feel, Jamie, that Tingle Creek win for Greaneteen was a little bit similar? You know, on another day against some better horses, would the result still been the same?
It could have been. I mean, I'm just seeing it by blind. I most probably think the race most probably fell apart. I would imagine. Like you say with Chacun Pour Soi, it could be. It's if he was going to win, if he's going to win another race, if he's going to do this, if he's going to do that.
And of course, if that's a maybe sort of thing, you don't know.
Most probably, I don't think the field was entirely strong last year as this year, if you know what I mean. I think.
Yeah.
But it's then was that what Sean thinks with that, and Mark and yourself, because you was there watching the race last year.
Well, what are your thoughts then? Sorry, Mark, I was just going to ask. Oh, hang on, it looks like he's paused for a minute. No, he's back.
No, sorry, no, I'm here. I think he's really good at keeping quiet.
It's like Drax and the Marvel films. Go on then, Sean. You was about to sort of say something. Just want to hear what Sean's got to say, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's difficult, isn't it? It's not necessarily that the race fell apart. Well, it is and it isn't, because that field did consist of Hitman, Captain Guinness, Nube Negra, and Chacun.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm saying, I don't get me wrong; they're not terrible by any means.
But in essence, not one of them ran the race you expected. But what Greaneteen did was run his race.
Yeah, quite,
Right. So I mean, it's a 50-50, and it's one of those things, isn't it? When luck falls your way, you've got to grab it and go with it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you can feel you've got enough horse under you, and you're watching the likes of, well, you know, sat in behind for most of it. If you're then watching the likes of Chacun, you're watching Patrick Mullet starting to go to work, and you're watching the others, Harry Compton on Hitman, who he eventually beat. But if you've got these in your sight, and you've just got to run your race, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah, you can't do a lot about that. You just got to get on with your job.
Exactly. So yes, it did fall apart, because for Chacun to fall, I was saying like 30, like walked home in the end, and Nube Negra to not really fire and come home 12 and a quarter lengths, 34 lengths.
12 and a quarter lengths. Yeah.
So it's quite obvious that yes, the race fell apart. Do you know what I mean? And certain things fell into Bryony's lap. But then you still have to jump your fences.
Exactly. Same as the football analogy says, you can only be what's in front of you.
That nonsense where, you know, as England, for instance, everyone goes, well, it was only Iran. Well, it doesn't matter. They were one of 32 countries that made the shortlist to be in the tournament. Exactly. You have to beat what's in front of you.
Yeah, quite.
The Spanish aren't going, it was just Costa Rica. It's just one of those. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, quite.
And that's what Bryony did, and capitalised on what was a weakening field
Mm.
around it. This time round, I'm in the camp of Jamie. I think Edwardstone, whether Shishkin will go or not, is obviously it's going to be the big question. Frustratingly for Nicky Henderson, it's probably going to be one of those that he'll almost feel like he's forced into making a decision, you know?
Yeah.
Which would be so detrimental to that horse if this nonsense over the last couple of weeks just because he didn't run Constitution Hill.
Well, as I say, we've spoke about, and and I've said it at work to the lads that are into their racing. I can assure anyone that's watching this, he was gutted to not run Constitution Hill the other day.
Of course it would be.
And Mark and Jamie will probably remember as well that we were talking to his wife, Sophie, and at the time she said, like, we have a plan for these horses, so we want them to run. We don't want them to pull them out, because then all of a sudden that backs up the plan, or the plan goes out the window.
Yeah.
So
and he would be so keen. He would be
so
keen to get Shishkin back on course.
Yeah.
Yes, he could be doing well on the gallops. Yes, he could be looking fine at home. But again, it's the same analogy as in football. You've got to be match fit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
especially to be going to somewhere, anywhere over Christmas.
Yeah.
The lead up to Cheltenham.
And not only that, but running them on the gallops don't pay the bills.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Winning the races pay the bills.
Yeah, they don't want to be sat with ease indoors. And I do fear that he'll be forced into a decision. And what you don't want it to do is, we know what Shishkin's capable of. That wasn't Shishkin that turned up at Cheltenham. But if he wasn't interested, Nico done the right thing and went, nah, we'll save him for another day.
Yeah.
Well, if he's not ready and the ground isn't what it's going to, what it's going to suit, then you don't run it at Tingle Creek. We've had it for years where we've expected horses to turn up and headline this, and it hasn't happened. Right? The Tingle Creek lineup that we look at 2 weeks in advance is never the stellar lineup that we get at Tingle Creek.
No, quite. Yeah.
Nevertheless, it's always a strong field, and this
Always.
one, right? Whether Shishkin decides to go or not, which we hope he does, and at 2-1 is an amazing price because we know what that horse is going to do. I think Edwardstone is more prepped and ready to go, if truth be told, especially with what Jamie was saying and from what we read and stuff like that. So I think for first time out, I think it would be better for Edwardstone and he would capitalise more. A course and distance winner as well, because Sandown's a difficult track. Again, you've got the Irish contingency. You don't know what Henry de Brumhead will bring over in Captain Guinness again, who favours this race. You could go first flow. If it's depleted and first flow is that fifth of 5,
16 to 1s in a minute for Unibet.
He could still run a race, So look, any of those that run will make it a fantastic race, and we know that this plus a couple of other races on that card that day are such an eye-in to Cheltenham. The form that goes from this meet.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Be very, very wary of.
Oh yeah.
And whether that be a depleted.
You could even, like say, you could even make a case for fan brewed Civila. Especially if the conditions have carried on the way they have been.
Yeah, if it's underwater, she love it.
Yeah. And you'll know you're getting honest race from that horse because
you'll get
it's a try. It's a Venetia Williams try, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So, like I say, look, from a personal point of view, I think it looks like a great card to start with. I love Sandown. I love Tingle Creek. I think it's a fantastic festive little meet.
It's always great fun, isn't it?
It's a great
been there every year for God knows how many years now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's fantastic. That race itself, I think even when it's brought down to what usually is the 6, we never get the largest of fields. Yes, people will moan and bitch like they do. But it seems lately that they're doing that regardless of what people choose to do. It's turned into a very boring listening to people moan Twitter world on horse racing in the last 2 weeks. It's almost people are just doing it and sapping the fun out of what is the sport and which we all love. All these people talking from their wallets and talking nonsense. Well, then don't waste your money on these short price favourites. If you're even in a little bit way concerned it's going to run. You're the fool for doing it. No one's telling you. There's not to say you can't back these and put them in permutation bets and do it, because we know that's what the sport is based on.
If it don't happen,
don't cry and whine about it and tell the whole world. Because I'm going to be honest with you, from the whole universe, no one gives a. Do you know what I mean? No one cares.
Yeah.
No, it's true, right? I've read it, and you're watching it and you're listening to these people sending out nonsense tweets or DMing these trainers and jockeys with this, that, and the other, and I go, you wet wipe. Like just because you lost your pocket money, you think that justifies people don't care.
You know, it's what I see today, Sean. You know, it's another prime example. Sacre, has suffered a bit of a setback. Been confirmed that won't be back in training till at least the spring. And some of the, again, I don't name names because as much as I'd love to name and shame these idiots, as I like to call them, an interesting tweet from somebody saying, "How can a horse get effing injured when it doesn't run enough races?" Well, I'm sitting there thinking, well, hold on just a minute. Like horses are still animals. They go out and they train, they get themselves prepared. Being at Nicky Henderson's on, and he he made it quite clear that when the NPR runners come out, he said, "I'm not going to have them doing too much because Sundays are normally their rest days. But if they go out, they're going to do a little canter, going to do this, come do that, and like." Every single horse was as good as gold, apart from Marie's Rock, who probably wanted to go and run 3 miles. But it's one thing I can't stand is the people that are still willing to go and pay the money to go to these race courses and then spend loads of money, get really drunk, get into a ruck or whatever it is that these people want to do, and then still have something to say about it. Coming off of that, because I just get absolutely ridiculous about it, as we was going on about, the Tingle Creek, I thought it was quite a strange day that year because, Third Time Lucky, who, went into the 11 to 10 favourite on that day, the whole talk was about him, win today, go to Cheltenham, going to go and do...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Harry Skelton, he must have just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. They had a bad day at the office because whether it was what his tactics or whether it was just the horse itself, because it's like me and Jamie spoken about horse, the three of us, Glenn, if a horse who runs and has won 10 races on the bounce, and then just one day thinks, oh God, I can't be asked to do this today. The jockey can do all it wants.
There's not a lot you can do about it.
If I want to go, then it ain't going to go. And going on to like the Tingle Creek and that, one thing I will say is that, I will hope and pray, touch wood, that, I hope that Shishkin does make his reappearance and he runs at the Tingle Creek. 2 to 1 is an absolutely phenomenal price. If anyone who don't know, of course, if he didn't get pulled up and have that injury, then he probably would have been 1 to 4 shot more than likely.
The only thing is though, Mark and Sean and Glenn, I looked at the field and I want to see Edward Stone progress from last year. But if Shishkin is declared, then I really want to see fireworks and see if he actually jump a fence from A to B, and also to see how he travels, and he travels well, and also how he is in himself, because he's not going to talk, because he's going to be quite hard for that. But
he probably won't do an interview afterwards.
Exactly, but it'd be great to see how he does in the race because of this bone condition. It's all been sorted and it's all been cleared up apparently, and things like that. So obviously, Nicky Henderson's going to be like on tender hooks coming towards the Tingle Creek. But like he said, the horse will tell him. There's a few trainers will do that with some of the horses, even on the flat or even on the jumps. But the horse will tell him. And I think if Shishkin does get declared, then obviously it's going to be a big, tough task for Edward Stone to race against Shishkin. I mean, I think some of the Irish runners, I think me personally, I think Fernie Hollow and Gentleman Demi, I think there should be they might not turn up. There might be some good races in Ireland. Going aiming for the Cheltenham for March. And for Captain Guinness, I think the Captain Guinness would suit him for the Sandown course because of them type of difficult fences, the railway fences down the back end where they come quick and fast. And I think that will suit Captain Guinness. But I think me personally, I think if they run here, that's great. But I think Gentleman Demi and Fernie Hollow, I reckon there's other, not easier options, but there's other options.
There's just other options that they might take up. Yeah,
in Ireland. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as I say, I think it's like I say, at the moment on paper it looks a cracking race. I do hope, as you say, Mark, that Shishkin does go. But then, as you say, Jamie, also touching on what you're saying there, Edwardstone, you know, it makes it a totally different prospect for Edwardstone. But I also think it'll be a good test for Shishkin.
Yeah,
because you're taking on a horse like Edwardstone.
Exactly.
So if we're fortunate, we're going to get to see sort of two sides of the coin, aren't we? Because we're going to get to see Shishkin come back and
Edwardstone progress.
Izzy is ready to rock and roll, as Nicky told you, Mark. And then we also get to see that next sort of level challenge for Edwardstone. So
this is when I
you know, we could have our cake and eat, which is what everybody's wanting lately.
Because this is when I become the devil's advocate. I've been waiting to say that. You know, I'm waiting to see Sean's reaction when I say this, but I think he probably knows what I'm going to say. But I've always been in the Energumene camp. I've always been in that camp, you know, but I've also been in the Shishkin camp at the same time. But what I hope comes out of this is that I hope that regardless of whether Shishkin wins or not, but what I hope is that we see a performance in Shishkin where everybody in the racing world can look and be like, do you know what? Regardless of whether he's won or not, he's back. He's looking at his best. Yeah. And this is just the first step to what everybody wants to see. Like what we've stipulated about Cheltenham being the pinnacle. And we're going to see it in the Champion Hurdle, Constitution Hill Honeysuckle, amongst other big races. But what we also want to see is Energumene Shishkin Part 3. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see Shishkin run at the Tingle Creek and everyone be like, it's still not right. It's still not right. We want everyone to go, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's
phenomenal. You know,
fans of the sport, that's what we want, absolutely.
I don't take, you know, with all due respect to all the runners in there, because as you said, Edwardstone is an up and coming horse and could go on and do bigger and better things. But the whole focus is going to be on Shishkin. And I just hope and pray that he runs, he comes back safe and sound, and it's just that one step, whether it's a 1 next to his name, whether it's a 2.
A good run.
Yeah, definitely.
It does not matter, you know, because it's like what we will see going off it quickly to the fighting 5th, regardless of what Constitution Hill does, you know, to see him out running again in his first step towards taking on Honeysuckle in the Champion Hurdle at the Festive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's for everyone from all over the country. Ireland is going to come to Cheltenham Racecourse over those 5 days, but especially on that day, on the Tuesday. And that's why I just hope and pray happens.
Yeah,
nice little speech from Mark there.
I'm a devil's advocate, but I can also be quite civil at the same time.
Well, somebody wants an invite back to 7 boroughs.
Abuse after.
I mean, unless you've desperately got something else you want to add. I mean, I think Mark sums it up nicely for us, really.
Perfect.
That is about what we want. That's what we're really looking forward to seeing. So, like I said, I don't think we really need to pour over the card. I think we kind of know where the winner will probably come from, given who's in entries at the moment. We spoke about that. That will probably change, no doubt. It won't be that many, as you say, Jamie. It'll probably be another 5 or a 6 runner race. So let's all just keep our fingers crossed that we do get to see Shishkin. He does get to run. Let's hope some of the naysayers, will actually shut up for a little while, Sean. And I must get my bloody ticket.
Yes,
right, so that'll do then, lads. Obviously, moving on to that, obviously, things in the new year, obviously, as you say, Mark, always moving towards the festival. As I said at the beginning, we have got a ticket giveaway that we're working on. We haven't quite finalised all the final bits and pieces of the jigsaw yet, but hopefully we'll have an interesting giveaway that people will be really excited for. Probably our best giveaway we've done. So yeah, if you're watching, keep following at Money Rider Racing on Twitter. Obviously, like and subscribe here as well. And you can find us on Facebook, although it's a bit of a sort of old medium these days anyway. But we're there if you want to find us there anywhere. And of course, obviously the eBay shop for your racing, your Caroline prints, you know, your racing equine prints, flaps or jumps. You can get them in time for Christmas. So there we go, lads. We'll wrap that up there, and we'll see you again for another video as soon as we get back together again.
Well done, gentlemen.
Take care, guys.
Bye.